It was a choice made by someone else. Fit in. That was what they said. It's vital that you try to fit in. But she didn't want to fit in. She wanted to be herself.
Any second now,
said the doctor with the sand shoes.
You're going to stop that countdown. Both of you, together.
The urgent red numbers on the clock stood at 0051, slightly less than a minute.
And then,
said the slightly younger-looking doctor with the waistcoat,
you're going to negotiate the most perfect peace treaty of all time. Safeguards all round,
interrupted the doctor with the sand shoes.
Completely fair on both sides.
The other doctor, the third one in the room, the old one with the beard who had never really thought of himself as the doctor until now, watched them, a smile beginning to break across the sad lines of his face, like longed-for rainwater through a dried-up riverbed.
And the key to perfect negotiation,
said Waistcoat,
is not knowing what side you're on,
said Sandshoes. With that, Sandshoes and Waistcoat kicked their long legs against the table, slid back their chairs, and, with a theatrical flourish, got to their feet. Two doctors, at the height of their power, doing what they did best, improvising.
So, for the next 2 hours,
said Sandshoes.
Until we decide to let you out,
said Waistcoat.
No one in this room will be able to remember if they're human or Zygon.
The doctors brandished their sonic screwdrivers and jumped onto the table, one of them rather undermining the intensity of the moment by shouting out the old action hero standby,
Oops-a-daisy!
They aimed their screwdrivers at a small device, looking something like a smoke detector, concealed quietly in the ceiling of the room. It clearly wasn't a smoke detector, however, as it failed to detect itself as it glowed brighter and brighter and emitted a gigantic belch of mind-altering gas. The old doctor, the wrinkled, battered version with the voice that seemed to have been tuned and broken in the tumult of the battlefield, took out his sonic screwdriver too and joined in with the boys. All of a sudden, he felt more optimistic than he had been in centuries, ready once more to be a joiner in. Let the device have it, whatever it was. For a moment, everything in the room was dazzling light. The gas filled the air. Everyone inhaled. And everyone who was not the doctor fell asleep. And everyone who was not the doctor lost their memory of who they were. Moments later, the people woke up. The urgent red countdown clock stood at 00.08, 00.07, 00.06. Cancel the detonation! Cried two panicked voices in perfect unison. The clock stopped. 00.05. The two panicked voices belonged to two women called Kate Lethbridge Stewart, although known professionally as plain Kate Stewart. Besides the Kates and the doctors, who had just shouted out, "Peace in our time!" there were three other people in the room. One was a woman in her 20s called Clara Oswald, who travelled with the waistcoat doctor when she felt like it. The other two were a young scientist called Osgood and another young scientist called Osgood. One of the Kates Stewart was an alien duplicate, as was one of the Osgoods. A living facsimile, perfect in every respect. A Zygon. The room was called the Black Archive. It was a repository for the most secret and dangerous alien technology that had been collected over the years. A place for things which should not be on Earth, but which somehow were. Even its own staff were not allowed to know what it held. They had their memories wiped after every shift, something that the people who worked in the Black Archive always meant to raise with human resources, but never remembered to do. Above the room was the Tower of London, and beneath the room was a nuclear bomb.